Hey, Phyllis. Well, today I want to talk to you about the difference between the growth phase and the contribution phase. Now, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this phase because when I learned this, it changed how I fundamentally looked at things. All right. It helped me go from always being in the growing and learning phase to really applying and becoming a contributor. Now, a lot of you who are watching this or going to be watching or listening to this either came off my list, took part in the Find Your Prime Summit that I put together, or I've actually guided you through one of my mentor physical transformation programs. But the reason I tell you that or that I mention it is because that probably means that you like personal development, right? It means you like studying, you like learning, and you just like growing in general. And if you're anything like me, you're almost obsessed with it, right? And it's you're always looking for that next how of how to take it to the next level. Now, I remember the first time that I went to a Perform Better seminar, fitness seminar about 12 years ago, and all the different speakers that were experts in their own niches, right? I remember the entire binder of notes that I took and just being on fire when I left there. And then I remember the first time I joined a mastermind and the crazy amount of knowledge that I learned and how I was able to learn in weeks or months what it took other people decades to learn. But what I want to talk to you about today is that next phase. All right. It's the phase that happens right after growth, but sadly some people never even reach it. And that next phase is contribution. See, some people get stuck in that always learning and building this wealth of knowledge, but never actually get to use it or never actually use it to contribute. You see, growth is powerful, but it's really only about you. It's about you figuring things out, but it's really only about you, right? It really is only going to benefit you. But contribution benefits others. Contribution is about benefiting others, but there's something really special that happens when you start to help others. What you learn is that you start to grow at an accelerated pace. So I want to tell you guys a couple of stories or a couple of examples so you kind of get a glimpse of what I'm talking about. Now, my goal with this is to help you get off the sidelines and join the game. Whether that's so you can make the physical and mental transformations you need to make to be a better husband, better father and leader, or if you're a coach, my hope is to get you off the sidelines of that continual learning and get you to start changing other people's lives. Now, I remember when I first fell in love with lifting weights. My dad had a whole bunch of weights on the side of our house, and he would go outside to lift, and I would just go outside to watch him. He wouldn't really let me lift because I was a little too young. Then at about 12 years old, he started letting me lift, and it really became my life. I would work out just about every day, even though I didn't really know what I was doing. I only really knew the basics because that's what my dad had taught me. But fast forward about 3 years, I walked into our local YMCA with a couple of my friends or a couple of my lifting buddies and saw a group of kids wrestling and lifting with this coach. And I watched them for about an hour because I knew there was something special about this coach. I don't know what it was, but I knew that I wanted to be coached by him. So the next day I went back to that YMCA and I approached him about training. Now, mind you, I had nothing to offer him except for effort. I had no money. I had no real way of repaying him. And this guy was a local legend and a well-known retired professional wrestler named Rip Hawk. And he wrestled back in the day when wrestling was actually somewhat real. So he was a really hard-nosed, no-nonsense type of guy. And I remember he told me, I'll agree to train you under a couple of different conditions. And I was like, oh, okay, this is great. So he said, number one is you give me 100% effort, no whining, no complaining, do what I say, and the workout isn't going to be over till I say it's over. If I feel like you're slacking, I'm just going to send you home. And number two, he said, I want you to absorb all this knowledge that I'm going to teach you. And then later, I want you to go teach and help others. So over the next few years, he trained and taught me so much. I remember I would train all the time. I would go in the mornings. I would go after football and basketball practice. I would go on the weekends. Any free chance that I got to work out, I would go and I would just learn and absorb everything. And even when I wasn't working out, I would be reading the muscle and fitness magazines, Flex magazine. So That was a huge growth and learning phase in my life, right? Then, as I got into college and was playing football, my love for strength training grew even more. So now my teammates started reaching out to me and asking me questions about working out and nutrition and just asking me for advice. And I remember thinking, I'm actually not a coach, right? I just love to work out, so I don't really know how to teach someone else. But I remembered one of the stipulations that Coach Rip had me agree to, and it was to absorb the knowledge from him and then use it to help others. Now, this is where I went from no longer just being in that growth phase or no longer just learning, but it was my first real example of now becoming a contributor, right? Now I went from growth to contribution. So I slowly started coaching some of my teammates and eventually some other people that I had met at the University Rec Center. And I remember the first few times that I tried to teach a couple of guys how to power clean. And I remember showing them really quickly and then told them, okay, now you guys go try it. And I thought they understood it and I thought they'd be able to do it. But as I watched them try to do it, I had to stop them because it looked absolutely horrible. And I thought these guys are going to get hurt. Neither of them were even close to getting the movement right. So what I did was I brought them back in and I showed it to them again. And then they went back at it out and tried to do it again, and it looked terrible again. Then I had this shift and I brought them back in and remembered the reason why I was able to do this. The reason was because, this is where I hold the bar. I have to keep my arms locked out and extended, and while I push into the ground, and I need to get my hips, knees, and ankles fully extended, etc. Right? And so I started looking at the movement and breaking it down and really started coaching them through it. So I started to slowly show them the little intricacies one by one as they would progress. And as I started showing them, I had the epiphany of this is why this is such a great movement, because of all these little things that need to be done right. And it's not a good movement if you don't do it right. So as I started to coach more people, I started to see even more little intricacies of the movements that helped me teach the next person better. And that helped me grow at an accelerated pace. So by helping other people, I became a better coach. It was that transition from me trying to learn everything to me trying to teach and help other people. So I have some good news for everyone that's kind of obsessed with growing and learning. It's that you're going to continue to grow. All right, you're not going to stop growing. But the better news is that your level of growth is going to be accelerated when you move to that next tier, which is contribution. And I know what happens a lot is when you first start trying to do something new, is you grow really fast, right? And then you hit this ceiling. And when you hit that ceiling, you're like, man, I know there's more. I know there's this next level. And that next level is contribution. It's really you shifting from where you get your butt off the sidelines of just growing and you actually start coaching and helping others through that same process. Now, my hope for talking about this is to help all you guys who spent a tremendous amount of money and time on growing and help you realize that it's time to take that next step. All right, it's time to use your skills and your knowledge and become a contributor. Now, I know there's probably two different types of people. There are those that are like so pumped right now. They're so pumped to start spreading their knowledge and they want to start right now. And then there's those others that are like, whoa, like hold up. This is going too fast. I don't know if I'm ready. I'm still growing. I still have so much to learn before I even start trying to help others, right? So for those of you who are feeling overwhelmed, I want you to know that I get it. I've been in that boat before, all right? I remember when I first started doing online training and walking men through mental and physical transformations about 4 or 5 years ago. I remember thinking, who am I? I'm not smart enough. I don't know enough about online coaching. It's so much different than online coaching than in-person coaching. I don't know if I'm good enough, right? I'm not ready. And then I remember in my head, I would think of all these stipulations like As soon as I have this, I'll start my online business. And the funny thing is that I've been doing this both in person and online for a total of just under 15 years. And there's still points where I don't feel like I'm ready. So I hope that gives some of you guys a little bit of confidence. But I knew that there are people that I could serve today, like right now. And I may not be the best in the world at everything, but I know that there's people that were just a couple steps behind me, and I could really just reach back and grab them and pull them closer to where they want to go and pull them closer to where I'm already at, right? Now, I didn't need to know all the answers. I just needed to know how to get to where I was. I just needed to be one or two steps ahead of them. And then by the time I led them to where I was already learning what I needed to do in order to help take them a little bit further, take them to that next step. So, what I'm trying to tell you is all you have to do is be one step ahead of whoever you're trying to lead. All right, see, most of you have been doing this for a while, right? You've been learning and growing through this. You've been going through this growth phase in whatever your area of expertise is. For some of you, it's fitness. For some of you, it's strength and conditioning. It's weight loss, whatever it may be. But even if you aren't where you want to be ultimately, you can start helping people that are either a couple steps behind you or even just one step behind you, and just pull them along and take them on that journey. So you can start giving them the tools and the gifts that you've already been learning, and that'll help transform their lives. And the crazy thing is, as soon as you start doing that, that's where you're going to go reach that next level of growth. And let me tell you, I've grown exponentially more from contribution than I ever had in the growth phase. So for those of you who are in that continual growth phase, and you've seen a good amount of growth, you've just scratched the surface of what you could potentially do and the impact that you can potentially have with those people that you're going to be helping. So to end this, I hope that I gave you guys an idea of how to start having a bigger impact, and how important it is to take that next step, to go from growth to contribution, to go from continually learning and always trying to absorb and never applying to now applying and becoming a contributor. So think about it. When you take what you've already learned and you start teaching it to other people, they not only learn, but you also begin to refine how you teach it based on different people's learning styles, right? So what's going to happen is you're going to grow exponentially. So that's what I have for you guys today. I hope that this gets you guys off the sidelines and helps you to start contributing.